Hey everyone, this is Louisa Munson. You might know me as Mrs. M, and you're listening to the highlights of our ebook Should I Move to Portugal, which is celebrating the first 5 years of our family life in this amazing country.
Yeah, she's right. Munson here, reading from Should I Move to Portugal? As Mrs. M said, they're celebrating our first 5 years in Portugal, and we're not really out of the first week yet. The idea of writing, sharing the book, is to roughly do what would it be? It's 5 years, which is 250 odd weeks, isn't it? And it's going to be, roughly speaking, a picture from each week. So we're looking at a 250-page book. Quite an epic job, but we should be done within the year. But thank you for being on this journey with me, and thank you to everybody. Andy, this morning, thank you so much for saying you're enjoying reading, well, maybe reading. You might be looking at coffee.com/GMP. You might be listening on the Spreaker podcast or any of the other podcast platforms through which this is available, or you might be watching the video. So thank you very much, Andy. Some of you, if you're watching the video, might see that I'm a little red-eyed. I've just had a coaching session. It's always very moving. And coach, I'm happy to say his name, but I don't know if he wants me to say his name. If you see what I mean. So in the spirit of confidentiality, I won't reveal his or her name. But just a very, this is a moving part of the journey, pun intended. And I've just had a very moving session with my coach this morning, as I sometimes do on a Thursday morning. So I'm in that raw state to share with you today's reading. And by the way, if you've got a similar story you want to tell, don't let's not make this just one way. If you're triggered or inspired by what I'm sharing with your own journey, if you're already here in Portugal or anywhere else in the world, and there are things you want to share that you think will be useful and important to people, then please put them in the comments, or let's record and have a chat together and share that with people. Okay, I extend that offer to you. So let's read today's excerpt then, which is of course, moving and emotive. Bad news from home. I think we're into what, 21st, so 2 days into our journey. We arrived on the 19th, okay, then the 20th, another 21st, the third day of being in Portugal. And if you'll remember, we've talked about the magic bus, our escape capsule from the UK, and how we arrived here in Portugal. Japanese engineering trumps user error as we make it to Tomar, which is where we're headed, where we're renting our first house. And we're in the magic bus, and renting unseen proved something of a challenge to Mrs. M. I think it was something to do with finding the dead bird under the kitchen table. And the gentleman whose home it was, not quite being ready with the vacant possession we were hoping for. He was still pootling about in the house, was there to greet us, but still had a few bits to do. But we sent him on his way, and he welcomed us into his home, and we had a little bit of a rearranging to do, and not quite to the expectations of Mrs. M. I'm distancing myself a little bit there, aren't I? But nothing like the shock. I mean, this is the thing, okay? She had a shock arriving at the house. It wasn't quite as, is anything quite as our expectations are. But renting unseen, I think, has those sort of challenges with it. The photos and the chats are a little bit different to the reality. But it was nothing like the shock of the message we received that day, telling us that Dee, Louisa's mum, had collapsed the night before, causing a horrific blow to her face. It was truly awful seeing the pictures of her. She fell over and smashed her face on the floor. And at this stage, the cause is unclear, and we're 1,200 miles away. Day 2 in Portugal. It's actually day 3, isn't it? The 21st. We arrived in the 19th, and I guess our first. We've arrived. With a hostel the night before, and now we've arrived in the house that we're going to be in. So day 2, day 3 in Portugal has, of course, a long shadow cast over it. Our attention and our intentions are torn now. The beauty of Tamar, sun-hot figs on the tree. I mean, it was so nice eating those hot figs off the tree like we'd never done in our lives. Got beautiful pictures of those. Figs are incredible, aren't they? And a picnic, as you can see in the picture, if you're seeing the picture, by one of central Portugal's many reservoirs, are a distraction about what's going on at home and with Luisa's mum, but thoughts, of course, are with family far, far away. In our rental, the home offices are created, each of us working as self-employed businesses, So it's important that we're establishing ourselves and are able to work. Mrs. M is distracting herself with cleaning and rearranging the house, where incidentally, we were later to find 1,500 euros in the freezer. Talk about lolly in the freezer. Hold on. And it's so hot, we're practically naked most of the time as we adjust to so many new facets of our new life. We're in the 30s, and there's so many new things to contend with, not least the temperature and having to strip off to cope with it in central Portugal. So many new facets of our life to contend with. It's frankly overwhelming at this point. For example, we see ants bigger and more industrious than we've ever seen. Truly marvelous seeing these lines of what look to me like ants that are 10 times bigger than I've seen in the UK, carrying leaves and sticks in long processions. We saw a surprised, shocked lizard really throwing its tail, as we've heard about in nature programs. We actually saw it in front of our very eyes, a little gecko throwing his tail off, dropping his tail and running off, and the tail was actually writhing around on the floor, much to young Digby's delight. And we picked grapes off the vine outside the house for instant consumption. There's some lovely fruit in that garden. So we're settled 15 minutes from Templar Tomar. More to say about that. Tomar is the most beautiful place, and there will be photographs and excerpts about Templar Tomar. I can actually breathe a sigh of relief now, albeit aware of smoke in the air from what later proves to be the country's most devastating fires. Yes, 2017, terrible fires, and more to say about that. The plumes in the distance, the smell in the air, the taste of smoke, and causing us to move on, or certainly look further afield for safety. And the final line here in this entry, and the picture you can see there, if you can see the picture, is the magic bus looking good in central Portugal on September the 21st, 2017. But our new home feels a long way from home. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, and I'll be back again tomorrow, of course, with another excerpt. Bye for now.
So we hope you're enjoying listening to our adventures. Don't forget that Good Morning Portugal is all about helping you to feel at home in Portugal. And if you'd like to know more about how we can help you on your journey, just go to www.goodmorningportugal.com.